Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Art Talk for our current exhibition here in the Mott Community College Fine Arts Gallery. This exhibition is past to present. It features former MCC art and design students from 1966 to the present. That's 57 years of amazing art that we have on the walls in here. So today, we have a number of the artists that we've invited back to share some of their insights with you. And today we're going to start off with my good friend Denise. So Denise, tell everybody who you are, when you were here as a student, and your connections to the college, and then we'll talk about your art a little bit.
Okay. Well, I think you already know I'm Denise Davidek. I think he said that. So I came here in 1970, the year I graduated from high school, and then just came to college here, stayed till 74 because I couldn't get enough of it. Really, I loved all my instructors. Hope you do too. And I love the freedom. We had a lot of freedom to, I don't know what, do what we felt like we needed to do. And I did go to Wayne State to get my BFA, and I also have a master's, but that's in art education. But it's fun because you can take some art courses to get your master's in art education. And got to go to England on that, for that. That was great. Anyway, and I come back. On and off, I come back. So
Yeah, you're not just a former student, you continue to be a current student throughout the years, right?
Right. My last official class, I think, was with Mary Berkmeyer, printmaking. She's not here anymore. Anyway, anything else about that kind of stuff?
No, that's great. That's great. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the piece you selected? Right. Yeah.
Well, I selected this one, sorry, because it's the painting part is an older piece. And I always wanted it to be finished with a frame that had as much junk on it as the picture had. And this is, I kind of call it a portrait of a plaster cast, because I made a little plaster cast and all these little buttons, jackknives. This was a piece of cutout wood to go into some other art I had. And I stuck it all in, pulled out in sand, just a sand cast. And then I gave it to a really good friend of mine. And I went, why? All these years, I've been upset. So one day I went and said, I'm going to do a painting of that plaster cast. It was about like this. So that's the painting of the plaster cast. And it never got its frame until now. I just did this part now. Well, month ago, whatever.
When you were feeling the pressure of this exhibition, is that what?
Actually, I didn't feel that. What I felt was, I'm going to do something that I want to do, that nobody else is telling me what to do. So it kind of just really tells you maybe who I am, but you have to know the symbols. So, anything else you want to know about it?
No, that was great. We'll come back. We'll come back to that. Thanks, Denise. All right, next we have, I'll swap you places, how about that? We'll in the same corner. So next we have one of our current full-time faculty, Professor Tim Krantz. So I'll let him talk about himself a little bit. So there you go.
Oh boy. Just time.
Yeah,
here.
tell me when you were here.
I'm Tim Krantz. I was a student here. I started in 1995, and I went solid here until 1998. And then I transferred to U of M Flint, and then back then they didn't have a whole lot of classes here, so we could transfer back and forth and take, classes at both places. During my time here, I met a lot of friends that I still actually am in contact with today, and I had Tom Bonner, Tom Newsom, Mara Fulmer, Jesse Cerna, and Kate Smith. I loved sculpture with her. Sam Morello, of course. Sam Morello was my advisor. And took drawing, painting related courses, and I'll say this on camera, I wish I was the artist when I started that I was when I was done, right? I'd be more proud of my earlier works, but, so, yeah. Then I went to U of M Flint, and got my bachelor's, two bachelors essentially there, and then took a few years off, and I went to Kendall College of Art and Design. And then once I graduated with my MFA, I immediately started teaching at U of M Flint and taught there for 6 years. And then John Dempsey retired from here. John Dempsey had replaced Tom Newsom. And so after Dempsey retired, I hired in and got his position essentially. So I teach drawing and painting here, which is really cool because that's what I always wanted. The minute I decided I wanted to go into teaching, I wanted to, you know, basically come here. Like, this is literally the dream that I always had. I wanted to replace the guys that helped teach me, and so I could carry on that legacy and that quality foundation that they gave us, and and I try really hard to teach the same things that they taught us, you know, when I was a student, plus a little more hands-on as well, because it's just my style. So, yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about the piece you selected for this exhibition and how that speaks to you as an artist?
Yeah, so this piece, part of the reason I chose it was I teach drawing and painting related courses. I'm primarily a painter, but I draw very similar to this on every single painting that I create. And so I've been trying to make more pure drawings. I've been playing a lot with a lot of different colors and textured papers, or not colors, a lot of different papers and a lot of different textured papers. And this was a piece I did in 2020. And it never has been displayed since. It was for an exhibition that was just at the tail end of the pandemic, so it didn't get out there a lot. And so I wanted to show it, but I just really enjoyed making this piece. I felt like there was a lot of art history feel behind it. I was trying to kind of do, like, you know, a really dramatic piece where, you know, you got two figures, but really in a sense you only have one, and the other one's just kind of lightly implied and all that. And this is actually a toy that I have, but the robot I completely made up based off of a bunch of different robots, and I just kind of threw it in. But it was fun though, because originally it wasn't supposed to be framed. I framed it, and when I did, I noticed that the arm looked cut off because I had taped it to the wall, and so I finished that, which then made me have to kind of imply that. So it's always fun to, so like Denise said, I basically went back to it about a couple weeks ago and re-entered it, but otherwise I haven't touched it since 2020. And it's just a quick, fast drawing. I made a couple mistakes on purpose in some spots to make it look like I hadn't made them in others. And that's what I just really enjoyed about it. It's just very academic, very quick, very free, and yet kind of indicative of my style, and also just my personal aesthetic with, you know, kind of rougher, rawer, but refined at the same time. So.
Great. Thanks, Tim. Thank you. All right. Now somebody, because I do. And now we're going to go, yeah. Steve, when you run the show, you can do whatever you want. No, that's okay. It's good. It's not about me. It's about all of you. So this next amazing artist and former student here probably doesn't need as much introduction, because if you've seen the Flint art scene, you know him. He's down in Detroit. He's everywhere. So why don't you tell us who you are and what you do?
I'm Paulie Everett, and I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I make a lot of art. I do murals, large-scale, mixed media art. I wish I was still doing sculpture here in print. Well, I still do printmaking and stuff at home, but yeah, it's about that.
So when were you a student here, Paulie?
Well, it says here, lastly in 2011, so maybe the 3 or 4 years before that, up until then, was simultaneously taking sculpture, painting, and printmaking all in the same.
All at the same time.
Yeah, that was like some of the best times. Definitely like a good escape too.
So do you want to talk a little bit about this piece that you selected for in the show?
Yeah, we can. Honestly, like, I had a lot of works in various places, so there was stacks of stuff at my house as well. I had like a million works downtown in like 3 different spots and stuff in Detroit. So this was one of the stronger ones I picked out of the vault to bring here, just because it's loud and bright and stands out to me. And I was trying to fit it in the size frame that was going on.
Yeah, for those of you who might not know this, part of this exhibition, we required that all the artists had a piece that was no larger than 30 inches wide. That was height could be whatever, but they were in a 30-inch constraint. Some might have broken that rule, but we won't name names. We won't name names, but no. It's beautiful.
But yeah, a lot of metaphorical stuff going on. I'm into a lot of different mythology from various places, but if anybody knows anything about this specific story, he's basically got to slay the Minotaur and get out of the maze. So this is kind of just trying to get out of the maze with some other various half bull references in between, for good measure. But aside from like it being kind of deep, it's a fun piece, even if nobody gets that deep into it. So that's why I picked it. And it's got a lot of my different styles mashed up into the same piece instead of just one thing. So that's the piece I picked for this. I didn't know what everybody else had up either, so I wasn't trying to like match anything to anything. It's just what I brought in that day.
Yeah, there was no precursor to what kind of piece. It was just the size constraint.
That's why this exhibit is cool, because all the different mediums mashed up. I'm digging it.
Good. Well, we thank you for being here. All right. Next, we have Mr. Josh Justice. Wow, couldn't get that out. Josh, tell us a little bit about you.
I was a student from 04 to 07. I graduated with an associate's in business, and then came back in 2016 and took the media arts program, took the photography class, and graduated in 2017, and have been a photographer pretty much since. So.
Excellent. But you're not just that now anymore, are you?
No, I am the support tech and the gallery coordinator here at Mott. So it's been really awesome to be a part of all of this and be with some great artists.
Awesome. Well, and how did you start into photography?
Completely by accident. I was trying to do a podcast, and that failed. I was reaching out to bands that I wanted to talk to, and one of the bands that I reached out to said, "Do you do concert photography?" And I said, "Yes." I did not. So I came up here and I talked to Nick Becia and Bob Renchler, and they let me borrow a camera for the evening, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And been doing concert photography mostly since then. I worked for the Metro Times down in Detroit, and I also started my own site called Shots from the Show, helping out other photographers that want to get into concert photography. And along the way, met some really awesome people, like the Pumpkins in my piece right now. Ely Fernandez and Andy Kurth, they're both amazing artists in the area, and just working with people that you can collaborate with, that you bounce your energy off of and bounce your creativity off of, it really helps.
Well, excellent. We're glad to have you here in so many ways. Thanks, Josh. All right. So this person is no stranger. We have her here often, and we love having her here. Rebecca Caseman.
Hello. It's good to be back. I was here, I graduated in 2014 is what it says.
Now that you remember, you're like, ah.
It's been a whirlwind. I love this place. My connection to Mott is that this is where I figured out what I wanted to do when I grew up at 40 years old. I love it here. The professors were just outstanding. Like, I still communicate with you on a regular basis and, just asked you as a reference for a job. And honestly, here is where I got taught how to be an artist and how to be bold and how to be confident and comfortable within my own skin. And I've gone all the way through to my master's degree, and nowhere else has been like here. This is, Mott has my heart, so that's how the connection here is.
Well, and we have a whole past podcast, or one of these art talks that we did during the pandemic where we gushed over each other. And for us here, it's always great to see our students go on to have the accomplishments that you've had, all of the people in this room have had. So you're a testament to what is possible. So thank you.
With a great start, yes.
So tell us about this piece, because this is new for me to see something like this from yourself.
Okay, so the size constraint and it needing to be on the wall was a bit of a problem for me. I generally make very big. I work in all different media, but I chose this one as a ceramics piece because when I was here, I was a ceramicist. That's where I fell in love with art. That's where I fell in love just with making. And it still is my comfort zone. Like if I'm just wanting to make for the joy of making and not because I have a deadline, it's ceramics every time. This piece just, it is one of my favorites. It's from 2018 and it always just sits at my house or is on a wall. It's one of those pieces that I don't really want to get rid of because it moved me in the direction of all of the things that I do now, thinking really abstractly and thinking about moving off the pedestal and all of those things. So I thought that this would be probably the best one to use for this show. So.
Well, and I love it because it's filled with secrets. You really have to engage with it to truly appreciate. You can't just stand back. There's a lot of stuff going on inside there. So awesome. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Always. Here, I'm going to switch you places. How about that? So this next individual has a very long and sordid history with us. So Brian Liljeblad, why don't you share your history with everybody, because it's a lot. You were more than just a lot of things. Tell us everything about you.
Well, I started here, actually we were in the studio wing, as it's called, connected with the Flint Institute of Arts back in 1966. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me coming to the community college. So I got into art and did well and graduated in '68, although I didn't want to quit taking art classes, so I stayed. I did another year, so I actually got out of here in '69. And then fortunately came back as the technical assistant in 1971. Did 3 more years of working and taking classes. Then I went to Cranbrook Academy of Art, got my bachelor's, BFA, Bachelor of Fine Arts, then my master's degree also at Cranbrook. Did some other things along the way for I think 12, 13 years, and fortunately got back here again as the support specialist. That was a full-time position. Began teaching part-time as well in the evenings. And then eventually the original gallery coordinator gave up the position, so I was the gallery coordinator until 2 years ago. So I finally retired, and here I am.
Have you really retired? Because here you are. We just don't let you go. We don't.
Story about how this happened.
How
or
about
do
we,
you want-
I'm going to come back to that. How about when
Okay.
we come back together, I'll have you start off with that question. Why don't you tell us about this piece you selected? I'll let you
Okay.
focus.
Well, this is kind of an evolution of an idea that I kind of solidified and came to use continually since I was a student at Cranbrook. It's hard to explain, it's a long story, but So what happened in this case is that I started collecting these primarily plastic objects, probably 25 years ago, not really knowing for sure how I was going to use them. I knew that I wanted them to be part of an art idea that I had, like I said, been pursuing. So we were invited as a department in 2019 to have an exhibition at Greater Flint Arts Council. And so I just decided, well, I'm going to jump into this. And I kind of came up with the first version of this, which involves the center piece and then the expansion from the center out with the addition of the rest of the pieces that you see here. So in this case, I added this plastic netting, trying to make it a little more dynamic. It was just circular before, so I tried to stretch it into a parallelogram, kind of a plane in space. And then the difference with this piece also is that some of these pieces started to move away, or I use the term escape from the general group, the center, the idea. So there it is.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
All right. So now, Mr. Cephas Thompson,
Hello.
how are you doing today?
Good, good, sir.
So tell us about your time here, and then we'll talk about your work.
Okay. I was a student in late 70s and early 80s, and I started as in theater, set designer, that kind of thing, designing sets and building sets. And I had an opportunity to work at FIA, so I took a position there. We was responsible for the collection, the gallery space. We designed space for the exhibitions. We had to build the space and this and that. And I was taking art classes at the same time. And I ended up loving to create art. And I was torn between working at FIA, being an artist, drawing, painting, printmaking, that type of thing. But I ended up, after I retired, making art again. So here I am.
And even coming back as a student, right? You were back in like a
Yes.
painting class, or
Yes.
right? Yeah,
Yes.
recently.
Yes, I was.
So that's awesome.
Yes. I love drawing, but painting and printmaking is something that I was pursuing when I was an art student, but it didn't happen. So I started drawing a few years back, and I got a studio at home, but I don't have the space to paint. I don't have a press to make prints, so I decided to draw, so this is where I'm at right now. I'm just a drawer.
And can you talk a little bit about why you selected this piece?
Well, I have quite a few drawings, but it's sort of like I'm interested in boxing. When I was a youngster, I studied karate, I boxed and stuff like that, so it was always an interest. So that's one of the reasons I selected it, because I like, I don't like to fight, but I like fighters and, history and all of that.
Well, excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much. We'll be back. All right, so next, Mrs. Wilma Romance. Dr. Wilma Romance. I should be more formal with you. Former faculty, but also a student of our program.
Right. Yes, I started taking classes here about 1987 or something like that with Sam Morello, and fell in love with printmaking, and that was sort of a culmination of a desire that I'd had for a long time. I had an undergraduate degree in art from Murray State College in Kentucky, and then I got a master's in English at Michigan State, and then I got a job teaching here full-time, which was a miracle actually in those days. So anyway, what I have done in my life is I've gone back and forth between writing and art and loving both things and never really quite deciding what I want to do when I grow up. So I'm still waiting for that. You know, probably will never happen at this point. But so then after I taught here for 3 or 4 years, I decided to go ahead and work on a PhD at Michigan State, and my dissertation was about connecting drawing and writing in the composition class. And so in spite of the fact that some of my students didn't really like that idea, a lot of them really did like it, and I discovered that there is a real, I mean, I knew all along that there was a real connection between all sorts of things in writing and art, composition, you know, detail, texture, the whole thing. They just go hand in hand. And so I've gone back and forth between those my whole life, essentially. In 1994, I think it was, I decided to, with Mary Berkmeyer, I decided to work on this piece, which was taken from a photo that I took when I was a Girl Scout counselor in Germany. I chose this one because it sort of represented when I really deeply fell in love with printmaking, and it illustrates a lot of things about my life. The German townships and, you know, the communities and everything that I really loved. And it was a two-plate etching. Did the line part of it first, and then I added the color on a second plate, and was pretty happy with it. So I chose that because it goes way back and started me off on a real part of my career.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen this piece before until it was hanging, and the detail is just beautiful, Wilma. It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I love it because we can't really give you a graduation date here at Mott because you've never stopped being a student since you started taking classes. So I absolutely adore that too. So
thank you. I'm honored to be part of this college and this exhibit. So thank you very much.
well, thank you. And finally today we have Nancy Pennell, who is also a continuing student. I'm never getting right here. Why don't I swap you places, Nancy, so you can be seen better? So why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your art?
Okay. Well, my art education has been spread out over many years. I graduated from high school, did 2 years of college, then I raised a family, and then I decided that I wanted to go back and finish college, and so I did. And I actually had the privilege of going back to school with my daughter, so at Michigan State University. So that was a privilege and an honor to do that, and we really had a great time doing what we did.
And both of you studying art, right? Because she's now an art educator.
She is an art educator in Grand Blanc, and a very good one. So we've always had that connection, and it was great. So then I graduated from Michigan State with a BFA, and I thought about going to get a master's, and then I thought, you know, I'm just going to see what I can do on my own without going through a master's program. So I took a class here at Mott Community College with Sam Morello, who was his last year, and he did a workshop for non-toxic printmaking. And I had already taken some printmaking classes, and I thought, well, this is great. So I took it, and I thought, well, I want to continue doing this. I made some friends in the class, and they said, well, you should you should continue to take printmaking classes. So I did. And and I've been taking them every year since, I believe.
You've never stopped. You've
I've
never
never
stopped.
stopped.
Because you're a student this semester, too. So just like Wilma. So.
I am. And because you have such wonderful facilities here, that I could never have a printmaking shop like you have here. So it was great. And I could do basically anything I wanted to do. I had freedom. I had encouragement. Mary Berkmeyer was wonderful, encouraging instructor. And so we just, I just went out and did what I could.
And you're always pushing the envelope, always trying new techniques and processes.
Yes, I am always wanting to do, saying, what if I do this, and what if I do that? That's sort of what I go for. So it's technique and melded with things I've learned in the past, which have been many things, many techniques. I've done almost all of the printmaking techniques. There's only a few that I haven't tried, and melding them all together and working on my own basically now, but working here at Mott.
So tell us a little bit about this piece.
Okay, I did this whole series, this nature series. I also went to some international printmaking conferences, and I went to a workshop, and they did a demonstration on this process called diffused monotypes. And I had done monotypes before, but in a different way. And when I saw this, I thought, I think I can do this. And I think it's right in line with my work. So I did this piece, and among many others, among many others in this, probably since 2016, I think, is when I started doing this. And it's based on nature, how nature is important, even things like weeds that most people want to dig out of their garden and everything. And so I wanted to show the beauty of nature, of simple things like weeds, and it's important for the environment, it's important for critters to live in. It's just something that I love to work on. So, and this type of printmaking just really went along with it. So I usually have many things going because I love to layer things, so I have many things going. And I also have put some screen print, trying to do some screen printing now, seeing if I can do similar type things in screen printing. We'll see how that works out because I'm still experimenting with that.
It's going to work out beautifully. It's going to be beautiful. Well, great. Well, thank you. If I could ask all of our artists to kind of join me back up here at the front of the room. We'll open things up now to kind of some question and answer. I'll ask questions. I know we have a small group in here, and we have another group that's watching us streaming from another room. You're all welcome to join us right now if you'd like to. But, yeah, just everyone kind of up here. Yeah.
Would it be out of line if I talked a little bit about my cousin and that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah. So, so Denise, your cousin, Annette Davidek, right? Did this piece up here. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Just
Here, go ahead. Oh, here, I'll follow you. Make me do all the work.
just a little bit, because she's like 5 years younger than I am. We grew up right next door to each other. She was greatly influenced by my father. She might say me, but not now. She's all on her own. She lives in Brooklyn. She has a gallery in New York. She's doing good. But I know a little bit about these pieces, not so much, this has changed, but these little figures back here are reminiscent. Well, these look like flowers, maybe leaves, and they've always looked maybe a little like sea creatures or whatever, but what they really are those horrible little monster germs that infiltrate your body. I can't tell you that those are, but I know the little squigglies are. And I'm very sorry to say that she has also had cancer and is battling it right now. So, but she didn't have it, as far as I know, when she first started the paintings of the little squiggly monsters. Anyway, she's a very nice person. Love her to death.
And last year, like she was attended in 1997 was the last year attended. So excellent. Thank you. Thank you for.
I know she has a master's. I think it was Hunter College in New York. Okay? That's all I know.
So here, I'll let you guys. You can all get over there. So I want to start off with my good friend Brian, right here, because yeah. So you all might not know this, but this exhibition happened because of Brian. I asked him specifically to help with this, our centennial celebration this year. We just got over of like a 2-year process of like celebrating, but for us, this whole year in the gallery is our centennial celebration because this is 2023, the year the college was founded, so we planned a whole exhibition season around it. And I asked Brian, hi, put something together that represents the college, and it was on you. So you want to talk about that?
Well, what actually happened was Jim invited me to have an exhibition of my own in the gallery. And I haven't been working regularly for several years. I didn't feel like I could pull that off. So I suggested that we do this exhibition of former artists. And so I mostly, but Jim and I collaborated on the artists relative to the newer members of the exhibition here. So anyway, that's how it happened. So because I had been here on and off for so many years, and it was a total of 34 altogether, I had some connection with everybody that has exhibited here along the way. So this has been very special for me in that regard because I've made contact with some people that I haven't been in contact with for quite a while, and was able to invite them to exhibit, and fortunately they mostly all responded, and so I know I'm the oldest of the group, going back to the 60s, and then Denise Davidek is my wife. I met her here when she came as a student in 1970, and then we have her cousin Annette. This is a friend that we met in the 70s, Steve Curry. He is Annette Davidek's husband, and so it was nice to have his work because he's been a very successful artist in New York as well. And so it goes on from there. Young guy, Chris Loomis. I call him a young guy. He's in his early 50s now, but I met him as a student when he came from high school. He was 18, and he's been highly successful, now lives in Taiwan. He's been a studio furniture maker, renovating an amazing house in Taiwan right now, and married and has a child. They all live over there. So this, another guy we met, Ted Hadfield, was here in the early 70s also. We became good friends with him, and eventually Ted and I started an art moving business in the Detroit area, which is now, I got out of the business 4 or 5 years after we started it. Ted and his wife at that time continued on with the business. It's now a major art moving, packing, storage, installation business in the Detroit area. So a lot of these things just happen along the way, so I just thought I'd mention them. Mary Birkmeyer, she started here as a student, and she became the printmaking faculty eventually. So I don't know. It's just been a lot of fun, and I thank everybody that participated, and I thank Jim as well.
You did an amazing job, Brian. I mean, and I should say, Brian came with a list. All of you were on that list. So, and we just added a few more of more current students. And like he said, everybody responded. So it's a good problem to have so much talent that has come out of this this college to be represented in this room, and for all of you to be here. So if I could ask, what's one major thing you took away from your time here that still impacts you today?
How I teach. My artist statement actually includes the gold card program that was here, and you know, I transferred from here to MSU, and here there was such a diversity of students, and how the professors worked with each of the students, and it became a community of learning. I was learning with and from people from 17 to 90 something, and how I teach within the classroom is very much emulated on what's here. So for me, it was the teaching and the generosity.
That's awesome. So touching. Yeah.
I got to come here and separate myself from the other artists that I grew up with and become my own self.
Yeah, they had to be difficult, right? Coming from a family of artists, how do you find your own voice?
Right. How do I get to be me? I do more of my art that way now. I just go, I don't care what anybody thinks, this is what I'm doing. And I used to try to be, you know, a really good artist. Now I just try to make art the way I want to. So.
And that's what I love about when I see you in the studio, when you have time, when I get to see you. No pressure about being in the studio anytime soon, but I always feel like there's a sense of play, that you are just trying things, doing things, and seeing what happens.
I'm glad you said the word play, because when I first walked into ceramics, I had never had any experience with that way back in the 70s with Tom Bonner. He was new then too. And I couldn't get a wheel except a kick wheel. And I went, okay, I'm gonna learn how to hand build. Of course, you had to have 3 thrown pieces. That was pretty funny. Anyway, I just said, I've got to play. I will fail if I don't play. I can't let this pressure of, I don't know, trying to be something to other people, to the other artists I know. I'm going to play. And that's come through for me all the years, being able to play. Okay.
Who else has any? Wilma?
I didn't have any idea when I first called Sam Morello and asked him if I could get in his class, what it was going to lead to. But ultimately, 2 of my daughters got associate's degrees from Mott after I started working here and found out what a great place it was. And now my grandson is a student in Jim's class, actually. So that has filled our whole lives with Mott. And
A never-ending cycle.
never-ending cycle, right. And there's a lot more grandchildren that I might be able to get here, too. So
I don't know. I could stop the cycle. It might end with me. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
as long as he gets a passing grade, that's all good.
We'll see. We'll have to see how he does.
I got a lot of money. And
I can't be bought. Just for the record, I can't. Yeah. Anyone else? Anything from their time here that they want to share? Some words of wisdom?
I would just say that you know, I learned so much about color and so much about craftsmanship here, and like you were saying, playing and experimenting, and just not getting too wrapped up in perfectionism, and just allowing myself to try things and try different ways of doing things, but just cutting loose. I didn't like color, I didn't like taking risks, I didn't like being playful. Everything had to be very clean, very precise, and now I'm the exact opposite in every way because my instructors were really, really, you know, great about encouraging that. So as an educator now myself, I try really hard to do that as well, and I try really hard to emphasize, just try this, put this next to that, what happens if you do this, you know, and just, if I didn't have that type of guidance, I probably wouldn't be here today, because I needed a little bit of guidance, but I also needed to know that it was okay to mess up. As long as the craft part was good, it was okay if you didn't do everything perfectly. So, yeah.
Anyone else?
Being a blabbermouth, I had a lot of different jobs before I finally got my teaching certificate and became an art educator. And I just wanted to say, I tried to teach my classes like I was taught here, but it was everything. Okay, we're going to learn ceramics, we're going to learn painting, we're going to learn printmaking. And then I went, you know, they have a single teacher for each one of those specialties, and I'm trying to do them all. But it was good. I couldn't have been an art teacher without being here.
But think about what you exposed them to. I mean, hopefully you gave them a love of art.
Hopefully I did. That was my goal.
I'm sure you did.
I am too. Yeah, absolutely.
Any questions out here? Oh, good. Oh, go ahead and ask it. I'll repeat it. Sorry, I'm going to run across the room. I'm a habit. Okay, so how would you compare your art to when you started at Mott, to after you left, to even now? Paulie.
Like maybe when I started, I was a little more shy and like did a lot of overthinking. Not that I still don't, but nowadays I just go at whatever I want to go at and attack it and have fun with it, as opposed to what I thought this was all going to be when I was learning here. But it was all kicked back and mellow. All the teachers I had just didn't keep me in the box of whatever the assignment was, you know, and they pushed me to, they kind of just let me do my thing. So I was learning little tips along the way, and now I just experiment and not just stick to one medium, just go nuts with it.
I think I'm always amazed by you. I find it hard to fathom your drive. Like I've never seen anyone who is as dedicated to a process, like making sure there's your time in your studio. And then for talking about being shy, you are everywhere. So you are networking, you know everybody. So how did that come about?
Even like on the productivity tip, like I learned a lot of that here. If I can do printmaking, sculpture, and painting every day, all in the same day, then I could go home, or nowadays I can paint multiple works at the same time, go work on a mural that's a million times the size of what I'm working on, and then come back home and size down and figure out other stuff and promote this and throw this event and whatever. So it kind of stemmed from here.
Just giving you that option, those keeping things open enough that you could have that experience and.
It just comes natural too, I think.
I'd like to answer the question too. I would say an easy way to sum it up would be 1,000 times better.
From where you were to where you are.
Yeah, David Peterson and I were talking recently, and Dave and I were students here at the same time, and actually friends, And we, basically, the way I would sum it up is Dave I always felt like all of us felt that Dave would do something, you know, with his career artistically. If you were to take the two of us and put us in a time machine, show us our future selves, and say you guys are going to be in a show here, these are your artworks, and this is what you typically create, no one would have believed both of us when we came back. They'd have been, sure, right? Because I really did come that far, but I listened to what I was told. I listened to what I was told years before while I was making work, right? So I always kept, as I always joke, makes me sound kind of crazy, but I always kept my professors on my shoulder. And don't. And so it just always kind of resonated. The things I was taught here really resonated with me, came back and came relevant as I was creating things, and also other institutions. But I just really got it into my head that if I was going to do, this was my shot. Art was the thing that I wanted to do, and if I didn't apply myself at making weaknesses my strengths, if I didn't do it right then, it wasn't ever going to happen. And I really feel like that is why I'm here. I think that's why I got to where I am, is because I didn't want to just sit back and hope that things happened for me. I had to make them. So.
Anyone else?
I would say that mine's changed over the last couple of years. Like I said, I started out as a concert photographer, so it's very by yourself. Like, you just show up to an event and then take your shots and then you're done. But over the years, I've met a lot of great people and been able to collaborate with people, and that, you know, leads to the sense of community that you have so many people to work with, so many ideas to bounce off people. And even now, like, being around all these great artists, like, I'll come in and talk to Tim in the morning or talk to you in the morning and say, hey, I did this shoot, and then, you know, why did you do it this way? Do it this way next time. Like, just learning and being able to continue to grow. Just that sense of change from, you know, 10 years ago till now, it's been an amazing experience.
Anyone else?
I think your instructors are always on your shoulders. I mean, there's so many things that you learn, and they go through your head as you're working, and you want to know. I don't think I'm a good one to ask, because, you know, I drew a lot when I was a kid and watched a lot of that happening, so it's not so much that obviously my work has changed, but not so much that as just your ideas, the becoming of yourself with those instructors hanging out.
I think that's a good way to sum it up, the becoming of yourself. But those influences are always there. Yeah.
Well, so many people said how great all the instructors were, and I'm no exception to that. They're fabulous then, fabulous now, and so what you did with your hands helps you remember what they told you, what could be useful to you, what little word made it the making of a great piece of art.
Yeah. I know. I mean, for me as a former student, it's night and day, right? I mean, I have the painful experience of having to share a piece I created as a student as an example of what we do when we deal with poster design. And it's there, and nobody really knows it's mine, but I have to show this, and I look at it, and I'm just like, oh, please don't let anybody find out I made this one. It's so bad. But, I mean, I have those instructors always in my ear. Janet Lorch, Mara Fulmer, who I still get to work with, Tom Newsom, Tom Bonnard. I'm always thinking, what would they do? And even in my classroom today, I'm constantly asking myself, like, what would Tom Newsom do to teach 2D design more effectively? And then even though I never took printmaking with Mary Birkmeyer, she subbed in my classes all the time. And she was a huge influence. She was so supportive of me as a student here. So it all comes back. All instrumental in who I am today and why I'm here right now. So any other questions out here? Yes.
I just want to be the camera. Burning question, how you become an artist? How you learn that the main title artist? What's considered of a successful artist?
So how do you become an artist? How do you become a successful artist? And it has to be more than I gave you a button to wear today. So when did you have the realization, or when did it click for you that I've arrived, I'm an artist, I'm doing this, this is my life, and it's going well? How about that?
You're assuming most of us feel that way about ourselves.
No, maybe with Mary Burkmeyer's printmaking, the subsequent semesters.
So after you went through some of that basic, getting into the more advanced stuff, becoming yourself there.
Right, and I probably was myself, and just didn't feel it but now I do. All right, I don't know. It's kind of different because I don't even know if I should talk anymore. But
You should talk always. I mean, you're all exhibiting. So you all exhibit, so you are artists, right? It's not just some fluke. So you're doing it. So when did you, what was that?
So I took a few years off, and I literally hid from the art community around here completely. And in that time, I went back to grad school. And when I was getting close to done, I started exhibiting. And I showed at Buckham, and a lot of my former professors were, Buckham members at the time. And I felt very, I kind of come out of nowhere. I wasn't doing social media or whatever, and here's all my grad school work out of nowhere, right? And I just really got very great acceptance and was asked to join the gallery immediately. Just things like that. And then, quickly after that, started, getting offered jobs to teach. And I think those things are what really, especially the Buckham, especially showing and being accepted and encouraged by Tom Newsom and Sam Morello and Mike Sevick and just all these people that I had looked up to. I think that they really just made a huge difference for me. And then John Dempsey, he just was always a friend of mine, never my instructor, but always guided me. And I think those things, just knowing I had those people on my shoulder, guiding me and just literally to talk to, just really helped me feel confident, ish. But, like we all say, none of us are necessarily the best at being right in the spotlight. Art is our out. It's the way we get out there and the way that we feel comfortable. It helps me not hide.
Who else has a thought on when you realized you were an artist?
I think it's a growing thing. It's you set goals. Like when I was here, I'm like, oh my goodness, I hope someday I could get in Buckham. And then I did. And then I set a new goal. And oh my goodness, I'll never get there. And then that goal happens, and it keeps growing, and it keeps growing and changing. And it was during my first residency where it was a solo residency, and I was expected to make work and then leave it there. And I had this epiphany, and I'm like, no one's gonna want anything that I make. And it was this line in the sand where I had to just decide, am I gonna do this or am I not going to do it? And halfway through the residency, everything shifted. And I'm like, I can do this. And I just did it. And it's I don't know that it's you make this certain way, you get in so many shows, you do so many things. It's up here. Mm-hmm. The am I an artist is here, and it's here. It's not in your exhibition record. That's the key right there, is it's got to be here and here. That's it.
Nice.
I was just going to say, I think the first time was the first show that I actually got into that was juried by someone that I didn't know, and I thought, okay, I'm in a actual art show, which was quite a few years ago. But every time I get into a show that's, juried by someone else that I don't know, not any of my friends or any of that type of thing, then, or by your professors or whomever. But inside, it makes a difference. Like you said, my artwork comes from here and goes outward. And then and then you feel like it's accepted, when it goes outward. And because you have to do something with your art, you're not going to just keep it in your basement all the time. You want other people to see it at some time or another. So that's part of the whole thing.
I don't know if right now, for the first time, I'm trying to make things to sell, which is very interesting to me, size-wise and everything. And I don't expect to sell, but I guess it's things that I really want to do, and they're small, so I put them out there and clip a price to them. And a few have gone, into someone else's life and home. And that's kind of nice, because I think I was meant to be an artist. I don't think that was ever not a thought in my head, even when I was a kid. It's like, okay, I'm going to follow in my father's footsteps, who followed in his father's footsteps. And that's what we do around here. And we did it enough to influence my oldest cousins, Annette and her brother Greg. That's it. No more artists in the family. They all chose money-making.
You need to have somebody to support you all.
Yes. Yeah. So when two of us artists get together.
It's okay, he had a day job. He had a day job to help support the
So
art.
did I.
Yep.
Don't
Both of you,
forget.
yeah, both of you. So you both were working, but yeah, it's still making.
I think all the artists that I've, known personally, like my dad had a day job. Everybody, sorry to say.
I think
But-
that's an important point, though. What is success? The second part of your question is what is it to be a successful artist? That looks different. That looks different for everybody, but almost all of the artists that I know have day jobs. And we try to find day jobs that feed our soul and pay the bills, so that you have energy to make at the end of a long day of work. That's successful, where you get to keep making and feeding your addiction. Your addiction of making, that's successful. If you can keep doing that, then to me, that's a huge success. And I think also deciding, do I want to sell work? Do I want to exhibit work? Do I want to keep it in my basement? Do I want to give it all away? All of those are valid. All of that is still being an artist. So,
I have one more thing I'm going to advise you on, because I have reached the point in my life where I am retired. But you won't get the time to make your art even then, unless you put that time in place before that. Like, always head towards that. And I've just been distracted, either from other jobs or the house we're working on, or a billion, what do I call it? Distractions will come into your life and suck your time away. So you have to prepare. I mean, you have to focus.
I think a lot about the those who can't teach, and I know there has to be more to that statement, because I think about that all the time, and I'm like, those who can't teach don't teach because they can't, right? They can't make. Those who can't, who are teaching, that's because it's a passion for those of us who work in education. Because for me, making art is something I have to really plan to do, because I'm so busy in educating and training new artists and designers. And it's not that I can't do it, I just don't have the time. So finding time. That's why Paulie is such an inspiration to me because he finds time to produce an amazing number of things. I'm just like baffled, just seriously.
Like an option, you know. Since I started selling work like off the walls here, or even before that, like before I even came here, it was selling works. I haven't stopped, so I haven't had any over the table and barely even under the table jobs aside from making art since 19. I'm 34 now. So yeah, it's been a ride. But to keep that up, there's all those key elements, you know, to being successful. We all know what those are. It's a whole ass long list.
You got time, you dedicate time, you're in the studio certain times, right? And you got your own rules that you got to follow to make sure that you're producing.
Still working on all of that too, so it's a constant thing. I don't think it ends ever.
No. Is there a follow-up?
Well, it's not too late for me then, right?
No, it's never too late. It is never too late.
Your title, 66, the present student, and dear to my heart, 66 this year I come over to the United States. And I went to junior high school and high school, the first 2 years, and I make a lot of drawing, okay? And that's probably that structural type of drawing. I still got it with me today, and I didn't think about it. I didn't pick up that brush or anything like that until today, okay? And I take a class, you know, I really getting the photography certificate class, art class, two-dimensional drawing right now is a requirement. That's why I'm here, get a formal training. And it's amazing. I see all the picture and all the stuff, and really inspirational, okay? And I just love it, you know. So I'm going to continue to learn as much as I can and see what I can do. That portfolio I had back in high school, one day my younger son, he looked at it, you know, and kind of spot him, you know, what he wanted to do. You know, he liked animation, the Japanese animation, all kind of cartoon, thing like that. Now, at this point, he's an art director out of Los Angeles. So I guess that sparked his, you know, what do I want to do, you know, in the future. And I guess I got something artist in me, but I don't know that, you know, until I'm discovering it right now, and by learning it, listen to your people and see all that picture you got here. This is amazing. Yeah, thank you.
Well, and I don't want to speak for this group, but I'll say this. It's never too late to start. I mean, and I won't name names, but there's some who are in my classes right now learning brand new skills, doing new things, and that's what it's all about. It's never too late. You just arrived at the right spot at the right time, so enjoy this journey. So with that, I want to thank all of our artists for coming today. I want to thank Brian Liljeblad for organizing this, for being so amazing. You're incredible. For all of you, for your talent, your comments, everything that you've shared today, and what you continue to share with everyone in your art. Thank you so much. So on behalf of the art department, we thank you. We thank all of you for joining us, and we hope that you will come back to our next exhibition, which is part of our centennial, which will be looking back. Former photography professors of Mott Community College will be looking at their photographs and their photography, and then after that, that will be in November, and then in December, you will get to see our AFA candidates sharing their work with us, who are on their way to moving on from Mott to their next level of art making. So thank you all, and we hope you enjoyed today's talk.